The small Arizona town always carried the scent of sun-baked dust and engine oil. On the corner of Main Street, where tumbleweeds often rolled lazily past the shuttered diner, stood Turner's Auto Repair, a modest garage run by Olivia Turner. She wasn't just any mechanic. She had a reputation for fixing things others swore were impossible to repair. Old tractors, forgotten motorcycles, even a fire truck that the county was ready to scrap. Olivia brought them back to life with nothing more than her gifted hands, a stubborn will, and a mind that worked like a blueprint. One late afternoon, the sound of screeching brakes cut through the sleepy calm. A rusty pickup pulled up outside the garage, and out stepped a worried father holding his daughter's hand. The little girl, barely 8, moved slowly, her body weak, her steps uncertain. Her name was Emily, and her pale face carried both innocence and exhaustion. She wore a faded yellow dress that once must have been bright, and her small hands clutched a stuffed bunny, whose fur had grown thin from too much love. Olivia wiped the grease from her fingers and walked over, puzzled. "Truck giving you trouble?" she asked, expecting the usual complaint about faulty brakes or an overheated engine. But the man shook his head, his eyes heavy with a different kind of desperation. "It's not the truck," he said quietly. "It's my daughter." Olivia blinked, taken aback. She wasn't a doctor, she wasn't a healer, at least not of people. She opened her mouth to protest, but the man rushed on. "We've been to every hospital within 3 states. They say her condition is rare, that nothing more can be done. But someone told me you fix what others can't." The words lingered in the air like a challenge. Olivia glanced at Emily, who was watching her silently, with eyes too old for her age. She could almost feel the weight of the child's struggle, as though Emily carried an invisible machine inside her that had broken down long ago. Olivia's throat tightened. She fixed engines, not bodies. Yet in that fragile gaze, she recognized the same thing she'd seen in every broken machine she had ever revived. Hope that something lost could still be restored. Olivia hesitated, her arms folded across her grease-stained coveralls. "I think you've got the wrong person," she said softly. "I can rebuild carburetors, fix transmissions, but I'm not a miracle worker." The father's jaw tightened. He wasn't angry, just exhausted, worn thin by too many nights in hospital corridors and too many doctors shaking their heads. "You don't understand," he said, lowering his voice. "Emily has a rare muscular disorder. Machines are supposed to help her walk, braces, chairs, supports. But none of them work for long. The doctors say her body rejects them like they're not made for her. They said," his voice cracked and he swallowed hard, "they said I should prepare myself." Emily looked up at her father, squeezing his hand. "Daddy, it's okay," she whispered. But the tremor in her voice betrayed the weight she carried. Something inside Olivia stirred. She had seen that look before, not in people but in machines left to rot. That stubborn spark that whispered, "Don't give up on me yet." "Show me what they gave her," Olivia said suddenly. The father blinked in surprise, then hurried back to the pickup. From the truck bed, he lifted a box filled with metal braces, wires, and straps. They looked cold, lifeless, like cages rather than supports. Olivia crouched down, running her fingers over the joints and hinges. She frowned. "Who designed these? They're stiff, too rigid. They don't move the way a child moves. It's like forcing her body into the shape of a machine, instead of building a machine that learns her shape." Emily tilted her head. "Can you make it better?" Olivia met her gaze. For the first time in years, Emily's eyes flickered with cautious excitement. It was a dangerous thing. Hope could hurt. If it was false, but Olivia couldn't look away. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I can try." The father let out a shaky breath, as though those words were the first kindness he'd been offered in months. "Please, I'll do anything. Just try." Olivia stood, her mind already racing through possibilities. Lighter alloys, flexible joints, adaptive mechanics that mimicked human muscle instead of fighting against it. She saw not just metal, but the promise of movement, freedom. She looked down at Emily, who hugged her stuffed bunny close. "If you trust me," Olivia said gently, "we're going to build something the doctors Couldn't. Not a machine for you to fit into, but one that fits you. For the first time in a long while, Emily smiled, small, fragile, but real. And in that moment, Olivia knew this was more than a repair. It was a chance to give a little girl her life back. The next morning, Turner's Auto Repair looked less like a garage and more like a workshop. Caught between medicine and machinery, blueprints covered the workbench, scattered alongside wrenches, bolts, and strips of lightweight aluminum Olivia had salvaged from an old aircraft frame. Emily sat in a chair by the window, sunlight painting her face, watching Olivia move with relentless focus. The little girl's bunny sat on her lap, as though keeping her company while she waited. Her father hovered near the door, torn between nervousness and awe. Olivia adjusted her goggles and began sketching on a piece of scrap paper. The problem with those medical braces, as she explained, half to herself, half to Emily, is they're built like cages. They lock you in place. But walking isn't about locking. It's about balance, rhythm, freedom. The machine has to listen to you. Emily tilted her head, curious. Machines can listen? Olivia smiled faintly, setting down her pencil. Not with ears, but with design. Every joint, every hinge, if I get it right. It'll move the way your body wants to, not the other way around. She rummaged through a drawer and pulled out an old exoskeleton part she had once tinkered with, a failed prototype, meant for lifting heavy loads. Back then it had been too ambitious, too unstable. But now she saw its flaws as possibilities. She could strip it down, rebuild it light enough for a child. For hours sparks flew and tools clattered. Olivia bent sheets of metal, tested flexible tubing, and welded custom joints no textbook had ever recommended. Emily's eyes widened each time Olivia shaped the unshapeable, like a magician turning scraps into something alive. At one point, Olivia paused, wiping sweat from her brow. She glanced at Emily. I need to know something. When you try to walk, what do you feel first? Pain? Weakness? Emily bit her lip. It's like my legs want to move, but they forget how. I think they get scared. Those words stuck in Olivia's chest. Machines never got scared, but children did. She knelt beside Emily. Then we'll build something. Brave enough for both of you? By nightfall, the first rough frame was complete, a delicate exoskeleton shaped to Emily's small legs, with hinges that moved like knees and springs that mimicked muscle. It wasn't polished, not even close, but when Olivia set it gently beside Emily, her heart pounded. This is just the beginning, Olivia said, her voice low but steady. Tomorrow we test it. Emily reached out, touching the frame with trembling fingers, as though it was something sacred. For the first time in her young life, the future didn't look like a closed door. It looked like a path waiting to be walked. Morning light streamed through the wide garage doors, catching on the polished steel and softened edges of Olivia's creation. The exoskeleton braces looked less like medical equipment, now and more like something alive, sleek, light, almost graceful. Olivia had worked through the night, sanding edges, adjusting straps, and making sure every hinge bent as smoothly as a joint in motion. Emily sat in a chair, her stuffed bunny tucked under one arm, watching Olivia wheel the braces over. Her father stood behind her, hands on her shoulders, his face pale with both hope and fear. You don't have to do this today if you're not ready, Olivia said, crouching in front of Emily. Her tone was calm, but her heart hammered inside her chest. She had built machines her whole life, but never one with so much at stake. Emily swallowed hard, her eyes flicking from Olivia to her father, then down at the braces. I want to try. Her father knelt beside her, brushing her hair gently behind her ear. Only if you feel okay, sweetheart. Emily nodded. I'm ready. With careful hands, Olivia guided the braces onto Emily's legs, tightening the straps so they hugged her gently, not harshly like the old hospital braces. The joints clicked softly, a reassuring sound, like gears falling into place. All right, Olivia said, adjusting a small dial at the knee. These won't walk for you, Emily. They'll just follow your lead. The rest is all you. The garage was silent except for the ticking of an old wall clock as Olivia and her father helped Emily to her feet. Her legs trembled, unused to carrying her weight, but the braces steadied her, bending with her instead of against her. For a long, breathless moment, Emily stood, really stood, without collapsing. Her father's eyes filled with tears. "You're up. You're standing, baby." Emily's lips parted, her eyes wide as she looked down at her feet. She took a shaky breath, then whispered, "Can I take a step?" Olivia nodded, her voice barely steady. "Whenever you're ready." Emily gripped her father's hands and moved her right leg forward. The brace shifted seamlessly, its springs easing the weight. Her foot touched the ground. Then the left leg followed, hesitant but determined. One step, then another. Tears rolled down her father's cheeks as he laughed through them, holding her steady. "That's it, Em. You're walking." Emily's face lit with a radiant smile, brighter than the morning sun flooding the garage. I'm walking." "Daddy, I'm walking!" Olivia stood back, watching, her throat tight, eyes stinging. She wasn't the kind to cry, but in that moment, seeing a little girl reclaim something the world had tried to take away, she let herself feel every ounce of it. This wasn't just a machine, it was freedom. And for Emily, it was the first step into a life filled with hope. News traveled fast in small towns, faster than wind chasing dust across the desert. By the end of the week, people who hadn't set foot near Turner's Auto Repair in years were peeking through the wide garage doors, whispering in awe. Some swore it was a miracle. Others just shook their heads, unable to believe what they'd seen. Little Emily Carter taking her first steps in years inside a mechanic's garage, not a hospital. Olivia had never wanted attention. She had always preferred the quiet rhythm of engines and the steady comfort of bolts tightening into place. But now, her garage was no longer just hers. It had become a place where hope had a heartbeat. Emily returned every day with her father, practicing longer and steadier walks. Each time she grew braver, her laughter echoing through the garage like music. At first, she clung tightly to her father's hands. But by the end of the week, she took 2 steps without holding anyone at all. The entire garage fell silent, then erupted in cheers. Even the gruff old mailman, who rarely smiled, wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting the sky in gold and purple, Emily's father lingered after everyone else had left. He placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "Doctors told me to give up. You gave her back her childhood." Olivia looked down at her hands, still streaked with grease and soot. "I didn't heal her," she said quietly. "She did that herself. I just gave her legs a second chance." But deep inside, she knew it was more than that. Machines had always been her language, her way of understanding the world. Yet for the first time, she'd seen that her gift wasn't just about fixing broken things. It was about restoring what people thought was lost forever. The following week, a letter arrived, not from a neighbor, but from a children's hospital 2 towns over. Word of Emily's braces had reached them. They wanted to know if Olivia could design more for other children who had been told, "There's nothing left to do." Olivia held the letter in her trembling hands, the weight of it pressed against her chest, but not in a way that frightened her. For the first time, she felt the road ahead stretch wide open. That night, as she closed up the garage, she saw Emily outside, wobbling forward under the starlight, her bunny clutched in one hand, her father just a step behind. Emily glanced up at Olivia and grinned. "See?" she called out, her voice bright and strong. "Machines can be brave too." Olivia smiled, her throat tight. No children were brave. Machines just gave them the chance to prove it. And with that, she knew this was only the beginning.